Fiona Anson is an award-winning businesswoman and an inspirational speaker with a proven track record in business. In 2001, Fiona was responsible for driving her company to win the American Express Fastest Growing Business Award and won the Sydney Businesswoman of the Year Award and was a New South Wales finalist for the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year. Fiona has been the go-to business expert for the Daily Telegraph, Channel 9's business show, and has written for every major magazine and newspaper in this country. In this presentation, Fiona will share with you how performing strategic alliances with like-minded people and businesses can catapult you to success faster and open doors that you've only dreamed of. So guys, would you like to all be upstanding and put your hands together for Fiona Anson?
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me first? Yes? Yes, okay. Before we start, I just wanted to mention that Steve said something about me being in red today. You may think that, women tend to have this reputation for dressing in red because it's a power thing. Let me tell you, this is the only thing I could find this morning. I have just moved house and all of my clothes are either in boxes or on the floor, and it was the only business thing I could pull out. So I'm not making a statement up here today. I'm certainly not making a statement. What I am here to do today is tell you all about how to find strategic partnerships for your business and how you can do that very, very quickly to change the results you're getting. So would it be okay if I tell you about this awesome strategy that can absolutely change the way you do business? Everybody cool with that? Because that's what we're going to cover. Okay, before we do that, I want to hit you with a few maybe upsetting facts that you may or may not be aware of. 28% of Australian businesses fail every year. Now that's not a nice statistic to have to look at. You've probably heard the statistics about 80% of businesses failing in 5 years. Unfortunately, that statistic is rising. And the reason it is because as business owners, we live in a state of overwhelm. There's so much that we have to do. We have to market, we have to do operations, we have to recruit staff, we have to manage the money, we have to do the books. And somewhere in all of that, we actually have to do what it is we do, which is sell our products or services. And we have to try and find a way to do that in the best possible way. The reason that I want to talk to you today about this strategy is I believe that this strategy is the best strategy in business for growing quickly, for catapulting a result. It's a strategy that every time my business is either going slow or, God forbid, floundering a little bit, it's the strategy I resort to every single time because it works. Here's the problem that we're all faced with. We all have a limited amount of time and money, so we really need to get the best value that we can out of the time and the money we have. Do you all agree? Yes. Yeah. Is there anyone here who doesn't struggle with time? No. Is there anyone here that doesn't struggle with money? You don't? Lucky you. I would have thought that pretty much everyone in business has those peaks and troughs where, money is one of those things that just isn't in abundance day in, day out. But, more kudos for you if that's the case. Absolutely. You all need to talk to this guy. He's obviously got tons of money. Okay, so what do most of us do when we market? I mean, we go to seminars like this and Steve always puts on awesome days and full of really good content. But I'm sure all of us have read lots of books, lots of magazines. We've been to seminars, we go and you hear all these marketing ideas. And a lot of them, we don't really know whether or not they're going to work. So we do what I call pay and pray marketing. And that is we pay a whole lot of money out to do a little bit of, I'll try a bit of radio advertising, I'll try a bit of something in my local paper, I'll put some flyers in the mail, I'll do a few EDMs, electronic direct mails, and I'll see if they work. I'll get a couple of new programs and see if that works. And you do a bit of everything in the hope, praying that some of them are going to stick. What I want to tell you about today is a strategy that actually isn't about paying and praying, it actually works. The first part of it is, the really good part is sometimes this is a free strategy. So it doesn't even cost you any money, 9 times out of 10. The other thing is you don't actually have to pray and hope that it works because it actually does. And it's one of those things that, unlike this, actually hits the mark for you. Because with pay and pray marketing, one of the problems is that you don't actually know whether you're going to hit the target. You know, you can try and be really targeted, but again, you don't know. You send out a direct mail piece or an EDM and you don't know whether or not people are going to open the email. You don't know whether or not they're going to see it. You don't know if it's going to the right people. You don't know if your TV ad or your radio ad or your press ad is actually going to be read. I mean, one of the things that I always bring up with people that do any sort of advertising in local papers, and I don't know if any of you do that, but you can spend quite a bit of money on local paper advertising only to find that the day the paper comes out, this happens. It rains. And what do people do on the day that the local paper comes out and it rains? Regardless of whether or not it's wrapped in plastic, they pick it up and they stick it in the rubbish bin. So all of the money you've just paid for your advertising has gone straight in somebody's rubbish bin. So that's why it's so hard to know whether or not any of this stuff is going to miss its mark or actually hit its target. What you need to be looking at, a business owner, is a leveraged way of marketing. How can I spend the time, the limited amounts of time and the limited amounts of money that I have to get the absolute best leverage out of the time and the money that I have and make that value equation as high as you possibly can? Well, here's a strategy that does that, because it's what we call a 1 + 1 = 3 strategy. It isn't just I do one thing, I get one other thing and I make 2. You can actually, out of this strategy, make 3 or 10 or 7 or 400 or a whole stack more than 2. And it's the strategy of choice of a number of big players in the market. So have a look at these guys. Now, you might wonder why I've got Planet of the Apes there. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. In fact, I was presenting this topic at a seminar where I met Steve, actually. And I said, what do these guys have in common? And someone yelled out, hair. Actually, I had Donald Trump and the monkey up. And I said, what do these guys have in common? And someone said, hair. What's that? No, well, the jury's out on that. I think we're all a bit confused about Donald's hair. But if you have a look at these guys, and I'll tell you why, I've got the Planet of the Apes there in a minute, is that they all know something that perhaps we don't know, and that is they know about the power of partnerships. None of these guys have built businesses as Robinson Crusoe. None of them have done it on their own. Donald Trump, he became the most well-known, highest paid person on television. He's not a TV star, he's not an actor, but he became the highest paid person on television because of what? The Apprentice. What was The Apprentice? It was a partnership between Mark Burnett, who was the guy who created the Survivor series and a whole stack of other reality TV shows, and Donald Trump. So through a partnership, he got something. He's now got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Again, would not have had that had he not had a partnership with Mark Burnett. Really powerful strategy. Bill Gates, another one. Now, Bill Gates' success all comes down to a partnership with IBM. Bill Gates was a small-time guy with an operating system. I don't know if any of you know the story. There's a lot of urban myth out there about he was somebody's second choice with a phone call. That's actually not true. He was their first choice, and he actually referred them, IBM, to somebody else. The other people didn't deliver, and then he said, well, you know what, I can probably do this myself. Went back to IBM and actually created MS-DOS, and the rest is history. So again, his success, and in fact he's quoted as saying, you can actually Google it and have a look, he is quoted as saying, from the very beginning, our success has been based on partnerships. That's how powerful this strategy is. Richard Branson's another guy. Again, he knows the power of partnerships. He partners up with companies all around the world to increase the profile of the Virgin brand. And why have I got the Planet of the Apes guy? Well, I was watching this movie with my son not so long ago. And it's quite... How many of you have seen this particular movie? It's quite curious because all the way through it, this guy has pants on. And towards the end, apparently, to take over San Francisco, he doesn't need pants. Now, I'm not quite sure what that's all about, and I don't know why he had to take his pants off to achieve it. However, what he did have to do to achieve it was he had to rally round all of the other apes. He couldn't do it on his own. So that's why I included him, because it was one of those, BFO, blinding flash of the obvious moments I had as I was watching this movie going, hang on a minute, this works everywhere. He couldn't do what he did on his own either. So that's why he's there. Okay, I heard this phrase in Las Vegas about 10 years ago. I was at a conference and it was about real estate. And I heard a guy mention this phrase. I don't know whether any of you have heard it, but it is so true. Your network equals your net worth. If I was to introduce each and every one of you to somebody like Lachlan Murdoch or Donald Trump or James Packer, do you think that would make a difference to your business? Why would that be? Why would it make a difference to your business if I introduced you to those guys? Sorry? Because of the people they know. So all of a sudden you've got an entree into people that you wouldn't necessarily have any kind of relationship with. That's why you need to look at who is not only in your network, but what other networks you can get into, because it just opens doors that you wouldn't have had open to you before. However, why don't we do it? Okay, why don't we do it? Why aren't we all big and mixing with the who's who of business? And the reason is because we suffer from this small business syndrome. We're all a little bit limited by, I'm not big enough yet. I can only go to those guys when I've got some substance, when I've got something to give to them. I'm too small. I've got to, earn my stripes in my business, and I've got to build my database, and I've got to have some profile, and I've got to do all of these things before I can go and get a strategic alliance with a big company like American Express or Commonwealth Bank or someone like that. Let me tell you, nothing is further from the truth. And I'm going to give you not only some case studies today about how businesses have done that, but I'm actually going to give you the roadmap. So I hope you've all got pens and papers and iPads and whatever, because I'm actually going to give you the specific steps that you will need to be able to do that. But the very first thing I need you to do before that is I need you to get over this. I need you to stop thinking about the fact that you're only a small business and that you can't do this yet, because you absolutely can. I've met very, very few businesses that can't form strategic alliances very, very quickly, which is why I've headed this presentation, how to do it in the next 90 days, because I'm going to show you how to do it in the next 90 days. So the only reason that you won't do it in the next 90 days is because of this. So what I want you to do is I'm actually going to do an exercise with you, because I want to prove a point. I want to show you something. I want you to all stand up. And I want you to find a partner. Anybody? Doesn't matter who. Okay. And I want you to spend... Has everybody got somebody? Yeah. And I've got to say, this is an exercise. I'm just giving you a pre-frame now. This is an exercise that's going to force you to do this. Okay? You're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone right here. Okay, so face your partner. I want you to spend 2 minutes. Is there someone who doesn't have a partner? Because we got a 3. Stephen, can I get you to come down? Because it just helps if you have 2s rather than...
We've got one here, Sam.
Okay, no. I've got a 3 down here. I've got a 3 down here. I need a 2. Stephen?
Good, yep, Sandy's going to come down.
Okay, can I get you to... Or you can go up, or... Yeah.
Dennis.
Okay, face each other. And I want you to spend 2 minutes looking at the other person and taking in as much detail as you can about that other person. So take in as much detail as you can about them. Just look. Have a look at what they're wearing. Have a look at what their hair looks like. Have a look at the way they've got their name tag, if they've got one. Have a really good look. No talking. No talking, no talking. You're not allowed to tell each other stuff. You just have to look at each other. Okay, so have a really good look. Scan head to toe, shoes all the way up. Have a really good look. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to turn your backs to each other. And I want you to change 5 things about your appearance. Change 5 things about your appearance.
Get it off.
It's interesting to see what people do in this. Okay, you all got 5? Everybody got 5? Yeah? Okay, now I want you to turn back and I want you to write down what those 5 things were that the other person changed. So maybe stand, keep looking at each other, but get a bit of pen and paper and write them down. What were the 5 things that other person changed? Some of you are looking. Now, no hints. Don't give hints. That's cheating. No hints. No hints. Everybody got their 5? Okay, turn back to back again. Back to back.
We're supposed to write it down.
Yeah. It's a big study.
Right, you done? Pens? Okay. Change another 5 things. Now you can't put the first 5 things back, okay? So change another 5 things. No, I can't put the first 5 back.
Done this before, guys. It's a very good exercise. That's it, mate. Get here.
Right, we all done? No, close enough? Okay, turn back, write them down. The next 5 things.
Oh, I got to write it down. Can I write them down, Paulie? Oh, yeah, good.
Are you finding it harder this time to do? Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to give you some more instructions. I want you to follow my instructions again next time. No? I'm going to follow my instructions in a second. Is everybody just about done? All right, if you're done, you can sit down. No, you're done. You're done now. You're done. I just need you to sit down. What did you do you that you're rubbing your eyebrows. Sorry. Somebody's up there rubbing their eyebrows. Is that because they changed their eyebrows? Just wondering. Okay, so what did that exercise teach us? Need to wear more clothes. Okay, first of all, I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, who's changed back to the way they were? Pretty much all of you. I've watched all of you. I didn't tell you to change back. I told you to sit down. And I told you to follow my instructions. And yet you all changed back. Now, what that is indicating is how difficult this stuff is and how you need to be aware of these changes. And the reason that I'm talking to you about change is because you need to change to do this stuff. You need to get out of this small business thinking and you need to change your mindset, and you are going to have to change and stay changed. So you're going to have to be aware of that. The second thing that I've noticed, and it happens every time I do this exercise, is how most people do really little things. You know, I'll just tick this up a little bit here, and the first time I did it, can you believe what I did? I changed where my earring was sitting. That's how little it was. You know, I'll just twist it this way a little bit, like as if anyone's going to notice. The reason I bring that up is because, again, to make any impact in your business, you have to have massive change, not tiny little changes. You have to do what Stephen was talking about here, and that's really push yourself out of your comfort zone. And some of the stuff I'm going to tell you about today is going to push you out of your comfort zone, but it's not that hard. It's actually really, really easy, and I'm going to give you that really, really easy formula. But you will have to be aware that you have to change the thinking and you have to keep it changed. You can't afford to go back to this. You can't afford to go, oh, I'm only a small business, I don't have anything to offer. You know, I'll wait till I'm bigger. I'll wait till someday, and someday never comes. So you really need to change that. And the third thing is how difficult it is to change twice. Yeah? So the first time was hard enough. Second time feels like it's nearly impossible. But in business, that's what you've got to keep doing. So what we're going to do again today is reinvent you one time, then reinvent you another time, so that you can appeal to these big sorts of players that will take your business results from here to here in a heartbeat. Now, just to give you a case in point, I had a client that I started working with 5 weeks ago. Last week, we signed 4 alliances. Now, I worked with them for 5 weeks, 4 alliances, and one of them was with one of the 4 major banks. And it happens that quickly. Okay, so let's just go over some strategy. If nobody understands this, I'm sure you all do, but I just wanted to go through this just in case. Here's you. Here's your alliance partner. And here's all the people that they have. Is that an easier marketing strategy than you going out and getting 1 new client and then 1 more new client and then 1 more new client and then 1 more new client? Is this easier? Absolutely. So this is why, as I said earlier, whenever my businesses have been either stagnating or floundering, or I've released a new product into the market, and for those of you that don't know, I actually have 2 businesses. This is one of them. The other one is a business called Hire Me Up. We're a job platform for the flexible workforce, and we're releasing a new app on Monday called Workable, which is very exciting, and we have just signed 2 alliances in 1 week to launch that app. We haven't even thought about doing any other sort of marketing. Alliance marketing is the way we're doing it, because we can get to a huge database of people really quickly, and that's what we need to do with a launch. Okay, so this is a strategy that if you then do it a second time, if you make it your primary marketing strategy, you end up with this. So instead of going and getting 3 single clients, you've got 3 alliance partners that can expose you to huge markets straight away. It's why it's such a powerful strategy. Truly leveraged. And the first one's always the hardest. So the first one, you'll feel a little bit wobbly and it's all a bit difficult, and I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do, and part of that I'm going to take you through today, so hopefully we'll remove some of those speed bumps for you. But let me tell you, the more you do, the easier it gets. And we're now at the point where we're signing alliances. I can start communication 1 week, I can sign them in 2 weeks for the most part. And I'm talking big companies, I'm not talking small ones. Okay, it will allow you to take your business to the next level, which is what I want to cover with you now. So instead of playing in the small pond, we're going to play in the big pond, if that's what you want to do. Who wants to play in a bigger pond? A bigger pond. Okay, cool. Great. I love it. Bring it on. Okay. So, let's talk about the roadmaps. Has everyone got a pen and a bit of paper? Because you're going to need it. By the way, if you do want a copy of these slides, just come up to me at the end with a business card. More than happy to email them to you. No problem. So if you don't get everything, don't worry about it. And there's some stuff that later on, every time I do it, someone says, "Oh, I'll stop there. I need to write that down." I go, "Don't worry about it. I can forward you the slides because I don't want to lose your attention." Just before I go on to the roadmap, another really strong reason to use this as a predominant part of your marketing suite is it enables you to lock out competitors. So, for example, if I have an alliance with somebody like the Commonwealth Bank, which I do, then what can't my competitors do? They can't have an alliance with the Commonwealth Bank. So it's a really cool strategy to be able to lock competitors out of the marketplace, because you can't do that with a lot of other marketing strategies. You can't lock anybody else out if you're doing local paper advertising. You can't lock anybody else out if you're doing electronic, digital marketing. And as much as I absolutely agree, and I can't tell you how much I agree with what Steve had to say, again on YouTube, you can't lock anyone else out. You've got to be there. I couldn't agree with him more. But this is a strategy that allows you to actually lock other people out of your market, which is and allows you to stand out from the clutter. And there is a lot of clutter out there every day. Lots of people are making noises. So let me give you a couple of case studies and show you how we did it so that you can see how easy this actually is. As I said, my other business is called Hire Me Up. We're a job platform for the flexible workforce. We launched in April of just nearly on 2 years ago, and we had nothing. We were a brand new business, web-based business, with no clients, no alliances, no nothing. About 3 months in, I think it was, we had started to do a bit of online marketing, a bit of digital stuff, a bit of Facebook stuff, a bit of social media, and we were getting some decent traction and it was going along quite well. But we were still pretty small. And I was watching TV one night and I saw an ad for $1 Million Woman, which is a Suncorp brand. Now, $1 Million Woman is an insurance product for working women. How many working women want flexible hours? Lots, okay? So that's a huge part of our database, of our market segmentation, is working women. So I saw this ad and I went, oh, we have that market, they have that market, maybe I should go talk to them. So I rang up the CEO of $1 Million Woman, a lady by the name of Lynette Argent. I found her on Twitter and I rang her. I tweeted to her, and then I sent her an email, and then I rang her up and left a message with the gatekeeper, thinking that, that's the last I'll ever hear from her. And lo and behold, I get a phone call from her 2 days later. And she said, oh, I saw that you were following me on Twitter. I had a look at what you do. I see that your market is very similar to ours. Just wondering what you were calling me about. I said, well, I saw the same thing. Saw that you had a similar market to me. Would love to come and have a chat with you and see if there's any synergies. Now, long story short, within 4 weeks, we had a strategic partnership with Suncorp, which is not an insignificant brand. And they were promoting our website to their whole database of women throughout all of the Suncorp brands. Now, can you imagine what that did for the size of our database? It was huge, because all of a sudden we were getting this exposure to that market. And cost us, how much do you think it cost us to do that? 0. Didn't cost us 1 cent to do that, apart from a couple of meetings. That was it. Case study number 2. A brand called Shoes of Prey. Has anybody heard of Shoes of Prey? All the girls have heard of Shoes of Prey. Yeah. Shoes of Prey is an online business that does custom-made shoes. My other business is in the tech space, so I'm aware of these guys. I know them. They're a tech startup business, haven't been going around for too long, starting to build up a bit of following, which is great. David Jones is in retail. What's happening to retail at the moment? Doing that. So David Jones are looking for businesses that can bring business into the store. Shoes of Prey are looking for businesses that can help them promote their high fashion brand. What's David Jones known for? High fashion brands, partnership made in heaven. Shoes of Prey now have a pop-up store in David Jones. So what's that done for Shoes of Prey? Huge amounts of traffic that they would never have before. They haven't had to, unlike some of their competitors and people like Peep Toe Shoes. Peep Toe Shoes have gone down the other road and they've opened their own boutiques. They've got one in, I think they've got one in the city, they've got one in Bondi Junction, they've got one in Birkenhead Point, New Collins Street, Melbourne. What does that cost them to do that? It's huge. Exactly. So they've got one pop-up store. They've got, their boutiques that they're paying city rents for. Now, I don't know what the latest amount of rent is in a Westfield, but I believe it's around $20,000 a month to rent a shop in a Westfield. That's a hell of a lot of shoes that you have to sell.
They've also, what Shoes of Prey are doing now, which is a new concept, is getting people to run workshops, like image consultants, because I'm an image consultant, so we run workshops so we can design the shoes for our clients.
Yeah.
So instead of setting up a shop,
Yep.
they're getting people to get there and now go out there.
Exactly right. Yeah, and it's, they're masters at this sort of stuff. And that's such a powerful strategy for them. And for David Jones, it's a win-win too. They're getting more people in the store. They've got more product to sell. And it's all done on consignment, so David Jones haven't had to buy stock. What an awesome win-win relationship. So case study number 3, Shoes of Prey were and still are a small business. They're not huge. Case study number 3. Anybody know Red Balloon Days? You all know Red Balloon Days? Does anybody know Naomi Simpson? I know Naomi really well. I met her about 12 months ago, and because, again, we're in the tech space, we run into each other all the time, and she's just fantastic. And I was talking to her about a year and a half ago because I'm a pretty impatient person. And while we had the alliance with Suncorp, I still, we weren't running fast enough in my mind. And I said, how did you do what you did with Red Balloon? Because we've only done this, and this. And she said to me, my God, took me 5 years to do what you guys have done in 6 months. And I said, but we still don't, we're still not as big as you. And she said, do you know what changed things for me? And I said, no, what changed things? She said, I spent 5 years walking up and down Martin Place with a briefcase in my hand and a red balloon tied to it. And I would be knocking on doors and, do you want to buy a voucher? Do you want to buy a voucher? Do you want to buy a voucher? And that's what I was doing. And she said it wasn't until I knocked on the door of American Express and I got a partnership with them and my business took off. And it's all because of my partnership with American Express. And she was a woman who was pounding the pavement with a briefcase and a balloon. So don't think you can't get those sorts of relationships. Okay, so what's stopping you? What's stopping you? Have you all heard of this strategy before? Yep, okay. Is anybody doing it? Okay, there's a few of you doing it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Are any of you doing lots of it? Good, excellent, okay. For the rest of you, why aren't you? Is it because how many of you didn't know about it? No, so you all knew about it. Okay, can I ask, and you don't have to answer, but I'd love it if someone said, why aren't you doing it? If you know about it and you know it's really good, can anyone throw something out to me?
For a bag of lollies.
For a bag of lollies. Oh, I'll answer.
People don't like
You've got to choose the first one.
They get nervous about going out there.
Yeah,
Themselves.
they do. It's fear, isn't it? Is fear the answer to that question? Thank you very much, by the way. Let me tell you a little bit about fear and how paralysing fear could be. And I know Angelina's heard this story before and Stephen's heard this story before, so sorry for boring you with it a second time. One of my passions is film and screenwriting. And about 6 years ago, I decided I had the opportunity to go and study screenwriting. And it's something I had wanted to do for ages and ages and ages. And I got to do it for 6 weeks in London with the top screenwriting teachers and screenwriters in the world. Some based in Hollywood, some based in London. And it was 6 weeks of just heaven on a stick for me. And I had never travelled on my own before. I was married very, very young. I had never travelled around on my own. Done a lot of travel, but never on my own. And so I was going to London for 6 weeks. And so I got all excited about it, booked my tickets and found a little flat and headed over there on this big adventure for me. And got there the first night and I was really tired. And I thought, I won't go out. I'm really tired. I'm just going to have an early night. Jet lagged, the whole thing. So I had an early night. The next night still a bit jet lagged, don't think I'll go out anywhere, I'd have another early night. So I did that. The third day, I thought, I really should go out somewhere. I really need to get out, and I'm never going to meet anybody staying in my flat. I'm going to these courses in the day, but never going to meet anyone going in my flat. So what I'll do is I'll go out and I'm going to go and have nice dinner in a pub. So I got on the tube and I went down to Chelsea. I thought, where will I go? I'll go somewhere that's nice. So the King's Road in Chelsea, very nice area of London. I'll be very safe there. So I got out of the tube at Sloane Square and I started walking down the King's Road, and I got to the first pub and I looked in and I thought, lots of guys in there, and if I go in as a single woman on my own, maybe they'll think I'm there to pick up, so I better not do that, So I kept, I'll find another pub. So I walked down a little bit further, another, that's a nice pub. So I look in, no, there's some guys in there too. They might think the same thing, so I'll find another one. And I walked to the next one and I looked in there as well, and there's lots of people in there. No, I better not do that. So I walked to the next one. There was only a few people in there. But then I thought, then I'll be really obvious if there's only a few people. Long story short, an hour and a half later, I was still walking up and down the King's Road because this fear that someone was going to come and talk to me was totally overwhelming. So I got on the tube and I went back home. And I walked into my flat and I threw my keys on the table and I sat down and started to cry because I thought, I'm going to starve to death in this city, which may not necessarily, I could do with losing a little bit of weight, but 6 weeks is probably ridiculous. And I'm never going to meet anybody. And this fear has paralysed me. This fear of maybe someone coming up to me was just totally encompassing. And so I gave myself a good hard talking to and came up with a strategy that I'm sure lots of people have done before, but to me it was brand new. And I thought to myself, what am I actually afraid of? What's the worst thing that could happen to me if I go into a pub? And the worst thing that can happen is someone's going to come up to me and say, hey, baby, how you doing? Or something like that, which, don't have tickets on myself, but I thought I'd be pretty lucky if someone said that. So I thought, first of all, the likelihood is not high. And secondly, so they do. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to say, look, thank you, but no, I'm just going to have dinner. And that's it. That's the worst thing that can happen. So why am I letting this fear paralyse me? Now, the reason I tell you that story is because I know the fear factor. I know how it can stop you from doing anything. So I don't want it to stop you from doing this, because this is the thing that will change, or one of the things that will change the way you do business and certainly will change the results you're getting. That's why I tell you that story, okay? So I want you to have a go. Long story short, I want you to have a go.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Did you walk into the pub?
I did, the next night.
Yeah.
I will admit, I'm going to be really honest with you. The next night, I took a script with me because I figured that was a bit of a safety blanket. And I could sit there reading in the hope that no one would come. And of course, no one came near me. No one came near me any time I was in London. So I don't know what I was afraid of. It was a bit disappointing.
Best nights when I've gone out by myself, they're the most fascinating people.
I know, well, see, it's not something I'd ever done. But I have to say, I did do it afterwards, and I met lots of awesome people. Interestingly enough, in London, most of them were Aussies. And I think the only people I met, bar one, was an Aussie. I came back with all these Aussie friends that live in London. So, Okay, so before we get started on the actual to-dos, what I want to tell you is what not to do. Okay, this is so important, and it's why I'm starting with it, because I see this mistake being made all the time. Mistake number one is people will go to an alliance partner with what's in it for them, and Steve talked about this stuff. You've got to talk to the person about them, not you. They're not interested in you, they're only interested in what you could do for them. Let's face it, we're all very egocentric. Certainly when you go to big businesses, they want to know what's in it for them. So it has to be a win-win strategy. You have to have in your mind that you are going to win, but they're also going to win. Otherwise, it just won't work. So if you think, you can walk into a partner and say, oh, they've got a database of 150,000, I could get exposure to that, I need to go and talk to them about how great I am. Not going to happen. Not going to happen, okay? So win-win, oh my goodness. Win-win is number one. Second, no alignment. Now, you may see businesses that have got massive, great databases that you would love to have a piece of, but unless you have alignment between what you have and do and what they have and do, a partnership, strategic alliance will never work. And here's a really good example of one. AA paper, AA paper and transformers. What have they got to do with each other? Nothing is the answer. Nothing is the answer. That partnership fell on its face because there's simply no alignment. I don't know what they were trying to do. I imagine they were trying to promote the movie and give away paper. But I'm not quite sure what that's got to do. What's that? I'm not sure who sold it to who. That's a really good question. It must have. Look, I just figure. I figure they were both out for drinks one night, and one guy said, "What do you do?" "Oh, I've got something to." Well, it could have been. I'm sorry. I beg you. I use the word guys interchangeably. Okay, guys and girls. Okay, so two people were out. I'm imagining out for drinks one night, and one of them works for AA, one of them works for Transformers. They said, "Let's do something together." Makes absolutely no sense. Okay, and. Well, it probably didn't, but it didn't get them any result either. So that's mistake number two. And again, I've seen people get, starry-eyed about, oh, that business has got a really big database, and it just doesn't go anywhere because there's no synergy, absolutely no synergy. Mistake number three, thinking it will save you. So if your business is floundering a little bit at the moment and you are desperate to do something and you ring someone and go, oh, I need your database, it's a huge turn-off. I mean, and it's kind of similar to the win-win thing, but thinking a strategic alliance will save you if you're already drowning, it's not going to happen. So you really actually do need to be partner ready, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so don't think, and of course this also is very obvious to the partner that you go in to see usually. They will see that you're just drowning and you're looking for a lifesaver somewhere. So here's the plan. Okay, pens up. We're going to look at the why, the who, the where, the how and the why of putting all of this together, and then the execution of all of that as well. I want to know how I'm going to time. Okay. Alrighty, step one is to lay out your strategy. What is it you're looking for from an alliance? What is it you're looking to achieve? So you really need to sit down and nut out exactly what it is you're looking to get for your business. And you need to think laterally about this, because sometimes it's not just, I need more customers, I need more sales. There's a whole stack of other ways that you can benefit from a strategic alliance. For example, I said earlier whose business would grow if they knew James Packer or Lachlan Murdoch or one of the big players, and you all kind of nodded or put your hands up. That's another benefit from strategic alliances, is the connections that you get, because once you're aligned with a big business like that, you're also then aligned with all the people that they know. So, for example, we have an alliance with the Commonwealth Bank. Now, if I need an introduction to somebody, I usually ring the Commonwealth Bank now because we have an alliance with them. I say, hey, do you know so-and-so? Yeah, sure, I'll make a phone call, I'll put you in touch with them. How much easier is that than me having to try and get through the gatekeeper to get to whoever it is I'm trying to get to at the other end. So that could be a benefit for you in determining who you align yourself with as a business. It may not be about, the Commonwealth Bank are necessarily going to send me all of their clients, but it could be they can open doors for me. And that's a huge benefit. It could be that by association with someone like that, your profile gets raised. And that's another benefit that we have with the CommBank, is that by being aligned with them, we get included in their events, we go to things, and all of a sudden our brand is out there all the time, where it wouldn't have been before. So I'll give you a list in a minute of all those sorts of things, because it comes into play in a section in step 3 as well. So the first thing, lay out your strategy. What is it you need to achieve? And have a list. Could be a list of things. I need to get more profile. I need to build my brand. I need to get more customers. I need to build my prospect list. I need connections. I need expertise. What is it you need? Write that down. Write down all the things that you need in your business. Step 2, define your target market. And here's where this misalignment thing comes into play, because if you haven't got this right, and if you don't know what it is, it will be the first question that your prospective alliance partner asks you. What's your target market? You need to know it without going, it's kind of this, that and the other. You really need to specifically hone down on what it is. So if you're a B2C business, that is, you're selling to consumers, things like their age, their location. Are they local? My business base is predominantly Wollongong. Or is it national? Or is it state level? Or is it international if you're a web-based business? What's your demographic in that regard? Is it only women? Is it only men? What interests do they have? What places do they go? What groups do they belong to? So have a think about all of those sorts of things. If you're a B2B business, what industries are they in? What locations do they have? What are their target markets? What are the businesses that you're looking to do? What are their target markets? What are your businesses that you're selling to? What are their target markets? And what are their customer bases? 2 different things. Okay, step 3. I just want to extrapolate on the rest of part 2. It's not just about putting really broad brush terms on it as well. So it's not just, it's all women. It's not all women. It's women who are what? Women who care about fitness, women who like to eat organic food, women with children, women who drive 4-wheel drives, women who wear, fashion shoes. What is it? What is the skew, what we call the skew of your database? And this could be things like the traits that they have or the commonalities that they have, the interests that they have. All women who like to go rock climbing or are into adrenaline sports. What restrictions do they have? So all women who are into adrenaline sports but don't have children. So that could be your market as well. There could be some restrictions in there. Locations, because again, a partner, and the bigger the partner, the bigger the location they'll want you to service. But for example, if you went to CommBank, you may be able to do a partnership on a local level if you only have businesses on a local level. They may be quite happy to do that. Yeah, we'll do something in Wollongong with you because, we know your market's Wollongong. We've got Wollongong branches. Be great for us. But you need to know what that is, because they'll ask you, are you local or are you national? Are you estate-based? Are you international? What are you? Your specialities. What is it you know or your clients know that might be of interest to them? And let me give you an example of this. We went to Optus recently. We're looking at doing an alliance with Optus with this new app that we have. And they wanted to know whether or not we could give them access to what's called big data, which is all the data that we can gather about our users that are interested in Optus as a company. They want all that stuff. So we had that speciality that we said, well, we can give you not only the access to the database, but we can give you all the big data that comes along with that. So, know what your specialities are and what the specialities are of your database that may be of interest to a prospective partner. Habits, obviously things like, they're smokers or they're not smokers, or they're drinkers or they're not drinkers, those sorts of things as well, and their preferences. What preferences do your target market have? They prefer to only eat organically. They prefer to drive their children to school, They prefer to only dress their children in pink or whatever, I don't know, whatever that preferences is. It's called skew. What's the skew of your database or your prospective market? Because the right fit is absolutely critical. If you don't have the right fit, you will find that you've got speed bumps in trying to bring this alliance on board. So the more defined your target market, the more you can go to an alliance partner and say, I have this, this, and this, like we did with Suncorp, the easier that path is going to be. But to do that, you've got to do this exercise first. You've got to know what that is, because the last thing you want in a meeting with a potential partner is to stand there and go, oh, I'm not quite sure, oh, it could be this. You really need to be very sure about this. And you've probably heard the saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression. No, never truer here, because you may only get one chance to have a meeting with these guys. And they will write you off, or they will say, yep, let's talk more in that meeting. So you've got to do your homework. Okay, so what do you offer? Step 3, your own asset audit. So you need to sit down and have a think about what you as a potential alliance partner has got to offer. Remember, we talked about it's got to be a win-win. So what is it that you can offer a potential partner? And it's not just access to your database, although that's what everybody thinks it is, which is why when we talk about small business syndrome, everybody thinks my database isn't big enough, so therefore I can't do this. As I said, nothing could be further from the truth. You've got a suite of assets, a suite of them. And Steve talked about this before as well. You know, you've got all the things that you know and do and are that can be part of this alliance offering. So I've put a few of them down there for you. So obviously, number 1, access to your database, but an endorsement to your clients or your customers. So you can endorse somebody else to your clients or customers, much the same as Steve did when he was doing that video JV thing. Inclusion in your media. So if you're in the media, and Steve again talked about getting yourself writing and getting yourself out there, if you've got a profile, that's hugely valuable to some businesses. Hugely valuable. In fact, Steve mentioned in my intro that I used to write for all of the major newspapers, and I still write for a lot of different, I don't write for the Telegraph anymore, but I still write for a lot of magazines. And that has a double whammy, and I'll go into the second one in a minute. But the first one is that lots of people, because they see my name, think that, oh, you can drag us along with you because you've got that profile. And I can mention them in media articles and in the stuff that I do. So inclusion in media can be a big one. Distribution network. Do you have a network, not just your customers and clients, but all of your contacts, all of your suppliers? Do you have a network maybe of suppliers that you can go and offer to a potential alliance partner? Content. Have you got, ability to add value. So does your product or service add value to theirs? Is that something that you could offer? And in fact, we did a signed alliance 2 weeks ago with a company that does staff management solutions. And we've got a roster-based solution that's run off a mobile phone, and we're now plugging the two of them together because he can go to his clients, which are things like Priceline and Crust Pizza and Myer and Target, and say, oh, by the way, I can now offer you this app. How great is that for us? To get into brands like that, because we've now got an alliance with this guy because we're adding value to what he does to his market. So we're not cross endorsing. He's just saying, I'll take what you've got and I'll add it give it to my market. So it's huge amounts of value for him, huge amounts of value for us. Content. Maybe there's content that you have. I've got a client at the moment who's looking for content providers. Now he said he's publishing a magazine. It'll be distributed to 60,000 SMEs. Who would like to be included in that? Okay, come and let me know. Come talk to me because I can give you access to perhaps become a content partner for that particular business. So if you've got content, you can offer that. Licensing. People can license your product. We've got this arrangement looking like it's going to come to fruition with Optus at the moment where they're going to license our technology because all of a sudden it looks like it's an Optus brand and they've got more value and all that sort of stuff. So that's something else you can offer. Co-marketing or co-branding. Co-branding the products or services that you have. Profile, which I talked about a little bit earlier as well, but things like, Richard Branson, he's got massive amounts of profile. People want to align with him because of the profile that he has. if you've got that profile, if you're a bit of a local celebrity or a national or international, or you've got some expertise, we've got one up there, if you've got some expertise in a certain area that you see a potential partner might like to tag along on that, that's something that you can offer. Expertise, obviously, and connections. Now, I just want to quickly touch on those two. That was something that we had an alliance halfway through last year with a company. We actually thought when we went in to see them that they wanted access to our database and we'd get access to their database. When we were in there, she actually said to me, in fact, I actually need your software. So what about if we do an alliance where I'll endorse you to my client base, but you can give me access to your software and we'll white label it and all that sort of stuff. And so we did an alliance based on that. They were using our expertise and our connections because we gave them our software people as part of that alliance. It had nothing to do with us giving them our database, which was great for us. So, go through your own asset audit and have a look at what you've got to offer and think about business versus personal assets. And the best example I can think of is Richard Branson, because he has a brand that has assets. He has a brand that has planes and profile and a customer base and all of those, and a loyalty program and all those sorts of things. That's the Virgin assets. But Richard Branson has got his own assets, which is his profile and the people he knows and his network. So have a think about what your business has as assets, but what you have as assets as well. What is it you know? Who is it you know? What is it, that you can bring into... Is it your expertise? Do you have really specific knowledge in something that somebody else might find really appealing? Do you have connections with really good people that someone else might find really appealing? And delve to find the hidden ones. Okay, you've probably all seen Beauty and the Geek, where this guy was hidden underneath that guy. Okay. Dig deep and find out what's hidden underneath what you think you have as just your basic. And, ask people. Ask the people you work with. If you've got a team of people that work with you, get some pizzas one lunchtime, stick them in the boardroom and say, what are the assets of our business? What are the assets of me? Because sometimes we can't see them. We're not good at looking in the mirror and saying, oh, this is how great I am. But other people can see that. So, and if you don't have a team, get your significant other or your kids or your sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, friends, anyone who likes you, and ask them what they think your assets are. The other people that you can ask are your clients and customers. Please don't be afraid to go and talk to your customers. Everyone thinks that's a bit scary, or they mightn't like me. You know what? If they don't like you, they're going to go anyway. So don't be afraid to ask them, because they've got some brilliant ideas. Customers have got brilliant ideas about how you can do business better.
People love to be asked, especially customers as well.
They love to be asked. They love to be asked. And you know what it does? It cements the relationship that you have with them. So by all means, and it's such a valid point, you're so right. And I just want to throw this one in there. Be flexible. After you've done and the reason we do an asset audit is because after you've done it, you don't know what a potential partner wants until you've actually gone and asked them. So I've seen so many people walk into meetings, or I've heard, because they've come back to me afterwards and said, I went in and told them they could have this. Did you ask them what they wanted? Oh, no. So you don't know. So and the reason we do the asset audit is so you can be flexible on your feet when you go and talk to these people. If you know what's in your little toolkit, then you can bring it out as they say, here's my problem. But if you don't know what's in there and they say, well, my problem is this, and you haven't worked out, because it's still hidden away somewhere, you haven't worked out you've got that solution, then, you're losing the opportunity there. And that was a lesson that came to me, and I'll go into that in a minute, but it came to me with KFC. I'll tell you that story in a second. Okay, so the search begins. Where do you find them? Where do you find these people? So we've gone through, you laid out your strategy, you've worked out what your database is, you've gone through your asset audit. They're your first 3 steps. The next one, we need to find someone. Who is it we go and find? Your first best prospects, you already know. You already know them. They are either your clients or your suppliers or someone you've met at a networking meeting or someone in this room. I would hazard a guess there's probably very few of you in this room that couldn't do their very first alliance with somebody else in this room. There you go. Here's one. The first ones are always under your nose. And what we do when we take people through what we call our fast track program is we actually go, let's have a look at your database. Because the first one's always the hardest. So if we can do the first one as a little one and get it happening and get some wins on the board, then the next one's so much easier, and the one after that's easier, and the one after that's easier again. So we always start here. We always start with who you already know. So step 4 for you guys is to go home, print out your database or get out your business cards or whatever it is you've got, and start going through and going, could I do an alliance with these people, do you think? And divide them into 2 piles, yes and no. Yes, I could, no, I couldn't. And the same with your customer bases, and the same with your suppliers. Suppliers make great alliance partners, by the way. It really sows into some really strong relationships with you as well. So they're usually under your nose. The second way to do it, which is again really powerful and kind of relates back to what Steve was saying, is to make some noise about your business. Put yourself out there. Get out here and start waving your arms around and making some noise about what it is you do, because you know what happens when you do that? They come to you. How do you think we got Optus? Anyone want to guess?
Didn't go through India, did you?
No, didn't. No, didn't. How do you think Optus came to us? Phone call? Anybody else? No. How do you think they approached us? Yeah, and I'm talking Optus head office. I'm talking the big guys at Optus. I'm talking, when we have meetings with Optus, we're talking with 4 of their top executives. There's $1 million worth of salary sitting around that table and more every time we meet with Optus. How do you think they came to us? As a contact form on our website. They filled in our contact form on our website because they'd heard about us, because we were in a recruitment journal, which is where their HR people read. I mean, that's incredible. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. A contact form on a website is how they...
So excited,
It was awesome. It was awesome. I turned to my business partner, I went, you'll never believe who's just contacted us. The head of talent at Optus has just contacted us and asked if we could have a meeting. It's awesome. And it's all because we made some noise. You know, we're pretty good at making some noise. We get out in the media, we're out there all the time, we're yelling and screaming about what we do, and they come to you. So make some noise. Be irresistible. If people see you as the authority, they'll be banging their doors down to do stuff with you. Now, you've got to then say, well, hang on, no, I'm not going to save you, and there's no win-win in it for you, for me and that one, and you know, I'm just not, and there's no alignment with you, so you need to think about those 3 things, but you'll find they start coming to you. Okay, offline, here's some strategies for you. Industry publications. Get industry publications and see who else is in there, and then approach them. See who else is writing in there, advertising in there, commenting in there, and then approach them. You've got the same target market, so it's a great place to start. Magazines, same thing. What magazines are your potential partners reading? Go and get them. See who else is in there. There's a partner list for you. Events, obviously, are awesome. Even events like this, you, as I said, I'm sure a stack of you in here could do alliances with a stack of the rest of you. Networking groups. Now, just a word on networking. The smaller networking groups, you'll find smaller alliance partners. The bigger networking groups, you'll find the big guys. So get out and about to some of those really big things as well. Try and kind of move up the networking tree because some of the big players go to networking functions, but they're at quite a high level. So if you can get and of course, once you're in with one alliance partner who's in that networking community, they will invite you, and then all of a sudden you've got contacts with everybody that's in that networking community. Meetup. Anybody not know what Meetup is? No? If not, just Google it. Meetup's a really cool site for finding interest-based groups. And it's how, in fact, I found a number of groups to start to hang with when I was in London, because I knew nobody. And I wouldn't talk to anybody in a pub, quite honestly. But I found some groups through Meetup and made some really good friends through Meetup. So Meetup's a great place. Now, it's not only for things that you do in your social life, it's for things that you do in your business life as well. And in fact, some of the people in the tech community that we've met are through a Meetup group called Silicon Beach Drinks that we go to on Fridays. Not every Friday, but sometimes. And we've met some great people through that, and it's all run through Meetup. And of course, your own database. So go have a look through your own database, see who might be in there. Online. Who's making noise online? So directories. There are online directories that you can go to that will tell you who else is in your industry, who else is servicing your target market, industry-based directories, those sorts of things, membership directories for your specific segment. Go and have a look there. Industry groups and memberships. So similar kind of thing, but you can often get onto industry groups membership sites and you can see who all the other members are of that particular industry group. That's a great place to start as well. LinkedIn, so powerful. So powerful. Anybody not using LinkedIn groups? Again, LinkedIn groups is great because you get to collaborate and meet, and people will often try and just connect with you because you're in the same group on LinkedIn. That's a really good facility as well. And of course, just Googling people searching for people on LinkedIn that you're trying to find and then try to connect with them. But always when you do that, don't just send the typical connect notice, actually type something nice in and, hi, saw you and thought, it might be worth a chat. I'm going to give you the script for that in a second. Facebook, social media, Google, YouTube, who else in your market is doing things on those websites, and then connect in with them and then get to know them. And then, of course, the other one is our new website, which will be launched in 2 weeks, called Partner Up Connect, and it's a dating site for business. And you can put a profile up there, and you can put who your target market is, and approach people that are on the site as well. So that'll be launched in a couple of weeks' time. That'll be available to you as well. Okay, I just want to quickly touch big or small. Should you go for the big guys? I've talked a lot about the Amexes and the Combanks and those sorts of people, or should you go with the small guys? Pros and cons for both. My recommendation is the first one is a smaller one so that you get the teething problems sorted out. But there's no reason why you can't go for big ones pretty quickly. Here are the pros and cons. The big guys are notoriously slow at making decisions, despite the fact we've managed to score a couple reasonably quickly. But typically, big businesses have got departments. I mean, dealing with Optus has been interesting because, we have 6 people around a boardroom table and everyone's got to run it past this manager and that. All that sounds good, but I just need to get approval from finance, and then we'll just go to legal, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. And it's time consuming. So doing alliances with the big guys is very time consuming. You often have multiple levels of approval. You sometimes have the problem where you convince this guy and then he gets retrenched, and then you've got to start all over again with whoever has taken his place. So that can be problematic as well. However, if you get an alliance with the big guys, it just opens the world to you in terms of exposure, media, connections, and clients. So that's why I am very pro big ones, but I'm very aware of the cons of dealing with the big ones, is that they take time, and they do take time. They also do expect you to be reasonably, have a pretty nice presentation. So, if you've got kind of things that aren't quite working for either a presentation or, your stationery and that, so you might want to get that in order as first, because you're trying to make a statement with these guys. Small guys, okay. The pros of dealing with small people. Fast to make decisions, agile on their feet. If things aren't working, things can be changed really quickly. You've got a really close relationship with them. They've got a really close relationship with their clients, typically. So they're all the pros of dealing with small companies. It can happen fast and it can happen well. The cons with a small company is that, of course, they're small. So you're not going to get the exposure that you would get from dealing with a big guy. So, and sometimes you have to educate them in the whole process. That's the other con, is that you go to smaller companies, some of your suppliers maybe, and they don't even know how this thing works. So you've got to educate them to how it works. My preference, do a bit of both. Do a bit of both. Start with a small one, aim a bit higher, do a bit of both. Okay, step 5 is making the approach. So how do you get in the door to these people? How do you actually, what is it you actually say to get the door open? Here's what works for me every single time. Every time. I write an email. and I say, hey, or hi, sorry, I don't say hey. My 18-year-old son says hey. I say hi. Hi, so-and-so. I just saw you on wherever. And, and then I make some comment about that. So it might be, I just saw you in an article on Smart Company. Sounds really interesting what you're doing, or very impressive what you're doing, or kudos to you because you've done this, or whatever. And I make some sort of comment. Then I say something to the effect of, I believe there's some synergies between our businesses, and I'd really love the opportunity to be able to have a coffee with you for 5 minutes. I figure that the worst thing you can say is no, and I put a smiley face next to it. Now, I don't know whether or not it's because I have already preempted the no, or it's the smiley face, or whatever it is I've written, I don't much care. All I know is that this works every single time. Now, is it going to work for you every single time? I don't know. It works for me every single time. It doesn't always work straight away. Sometimes it might be 2 or 3 months before I get in the door, but I can say I've got a 100% hit rate with this. And the reason I did this is because I discovered it by accident last year. Beginning of last year, I started work on the 9th of January, and I'd had a couple of weeks off, and I went back to work on the 9th of January, and I said to my business partner, do you know what? I think it's time to kick this thing into gear. And she went, yeah, let's get aggressive this year. And so the first email I opened was an email from a website called Smart Company, which is a whole stack of information about companies, and it's great. And I was reading through it, and it said, here's the top 10 entrepreneurs of 2010. And I was reading through, and one of them was a recruiter, and one of them did something else that I thought was synergetic. And I thought, you know what? I can see synergies with every single one of those people. So bugger it, I'm just going to write to them. So I wrote that email that I just said to you, and I wrote it to them. Out of the 10, every single one of them answered me. And I had, within 2 weeks, I'd had coffee with 6 of them. It took me another couple of weeks to have coffee with 2 more, another 3 months to get coffee with 1, and then it was about 6 months later that I finally had coffee with the last one, but we had, back and forth, and then we ran into each other at an event, and then I ended up having coffee with him as well. That's what I can say. And I still do it now, and it still works every single time. So that's the best approach that I use. Now, once you've got the door open and someone said, hey, yeah, come and have a coffee with me, what do you say? Okay. Killer elevator pitch. You have to know exactly what it is you do and to be able to say it really succinctly. Here's an example of one. Don't write it down. I can give you the slides, no problems. You don't have to write it down. But it needs to be a sentence, something that you can say that's very compelling about what it is you do and who it is you do it for and what the problem is that you solve. Do not use jargon. And I know this tends to happen in the technology industry where people tend to get very jargony. Please don't do it. Speak to everyone like they're thick as a plank. If you keep that in your head, these people are, dodos, then you'll get the elevator pitch done really, really well. And test it with all your friends. It takes ages to get this right, by the way. This is not easy. I've got a friend who's got a business that does awesome stuff. And basically what he does is he helps people with all those technology problems that drive you nuts. But his elevator pitch was, I create technology stacks for business. I was like, well, what are you talking about? I don't even know what a technology stack is. Tell me what the simple version is. So don't get into this. Drop the jargon. And don't talk and talk and talk. Be really compelling. Short, sharp and sweet is what you need to be doing. Then, when they've asked you what it is you do, you then need to turn it around. And this is the lesson I learnt from KFC, which I mentioned earlier. I went in to see KFC at their request to talk to them about their recruitment because we recruit flexible staff. And this woman walked and I had the whole pitch there at the time, my PowerPoint presentation and my folders and all that sort of stuff. And I walked in and we sat at the table and I remember she walked into the room and she shut all the blinds. And then she said, right, she pulled out the chair really aggressively. Right. She said, you tell me, why should I do business with you? And it was so aggressive that it kind of pushed me backwards. And I said, well, you tell me what I'd need to do to get it. And she went, oh, okay, you'd need to do this, 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 and this. And I went, oh my God, I've just got the perfect brief. She's told me everything I need to do. And I learnt that lesson from that woman. And that is, Ask them these two questions. What is it you're trying to achieve? How can I help you do that? That's why you have to have the asset audit worked out. You have to know what is in your suite to offer, because the answer to that first question might be totally different to what you think it's going to be. And in fact, I had somebody who sent me a lovely testimonial the other day who said to me, I didn't realise, I've been trying to get this alliance across the line for 12 months, and the fact that you said that, I went in and went back to that alliance partner. I said, what are you trying to achieve? How can I help you? And they said, oh, if you could do this, this and this, we'd do the alliance. And she went, I've got it now. So they're two really powerful statements, and you need to listen more than you speak in those meetings. Okay, you need to ask lots of questions, find out what they want, and then provide them with a solution. And you can't do that unless you know what you've got in your kit bag to offer. So getting to the handshake. Let's say they told you what it is they're looking for. You can supply that need to you. Then what happens? What do you do now? Ooh, it's a bit scary now. An agreement, yeah. Well, and that can take a number of different forms. It depends on the business. It could be something as simple as an agreement in an email, or it could be something as complicated as a full-blown partnership agreement. Or joint venture agreement, not partnership agreement. Here's the documents these that you will need. So you do need to make sure you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's, especially with the big guys. Okay, you may just need written confirmation. So an email is great and is enough. You don't need to do anything more, or it could be a letter if that's what they want. Non-disclosure agreements and confidentiality agreements. If you've got some IP you're trying to protect, highly recommend you do this. And you may even want to do it when you're first starting discussions. We always do. So very important. And non-disclosures stop you and them from disclosing the terms of your relationship and or what you've got as intellectual property. And confidentiality agreements, pretty much the same thing, but they keep everything confidential. Memorandums of Understanding, MOUs. They are just general documents that explain everybody's intention for this relationship. They're not necessarily legally binding. We only ever had this with Suncorp. We never went any further with Suncorp. They were happy with an MOU. So that is, but you need to have those documents available, or you need to know what they are. Heads of agreement. This is kind of the next level up, and sometimes with some of the corporates, they'll want a heads of agreement. It's a legally binding document that says you'll do this and they'll do that. And they may want you to go to that. You may want to do shareholders agreements as well. Sometimes they come into play if these businesses are taking shares of yours or vice versa. And this is kind of getting real high level now. And exit plans. So what happens if the alliance doesn't work out, or if the alliance is only for a certain period of time? What do you do at the end of that? Okay, so things like drag along and tag along clauses, which I probably don't have time to go into now, but I'm happy to answer your questions later on. First right of refusal or first right of agreement. So, for example, if they were going to do another alliance with another partner, you may have first right of agreement to go along with that, or to first right of refusal to not go along with that. And dignified dissolutions. What happens if this doesn't work out? You really need to have that in all of your agreements as well. So, your turn. Who thinks this is an awesome strategy? Yeah? 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 Okay. Well, I can tell you absolutely it is. So here are your options, according to my favourite little friend. That is, you do or you do not. There is no try in this one. Okay? You either do them or you don't do them. And it's just a choice that you need to make. They do work. Done well, they're unbelievable. But it's a choice you have to make. So, what is the solution? Well, if you need help with this, I have given you the steps today. You can take it away and do it yourself. If you need help with this, we are more than happy to help you. We've got a program we call Fast Track. What it's designed to do is to get you your first alliance partners within 60 to 90 days. So not only do you get our help in being able to put in place all the 6 steps that I talked about, but you also get exposure to our network. And we can help you to find the right alliance partners and help you sign the right alliance partners. How it all goes together. It's a 6-module program. It is done over the internet, but it is an implementation program. We do not just give you the strategy and say, now you go away and do it all on your own. We actually help you implement it. So we have weekly webinars where we get you on a call, and we deal with what your specific problems are. So we take you through the 6 modules I talked about today: the why, where, who, what, how, and the execution. And then every week we deal with what your challenges are in doing that stuff. So you may say, oh, look, I spoke to so-and-so and they said this, what do I do now? Or they want this paperwork, what do I say? Or this is their problem, how do I go? Or I don't know what my assets are, how do we do that? And then we'll sit down with you and we'll go through in detail to help you move you through that program. The second thing is we have weekly support. So you can access us pretty much any time, and we will help you move this thing forward, including access to our community and our extensive network of large and small alliance partners. So we can put you in touch with the people that you need to speak to. And if you are partner ready and we believe you've got a compelling offer, we'll actually give you an endorsement into them as well, which is a huge benefit because you've already got the door open. And last but not least, we give you all the success templates that you need. So things like emails and letters and MOUs and all of those sorts of things that you will need to make this happen, we will be able to give you access to all of those as well. So, and we give you a money-back guarantee. So if by the end of it you have not secured your first alliance partner, we'll give you all your money back. That's how strongly we believe that this will work for you. I have not yet come across a business that it hasn't. As I said earlier, we've had clients that have been with us for 5 weeks that have already secured 4 partners. So, and we haven't had anyone yet who has been a failure. So if you are interested, I'd be more than happy to talk to you, answer your questions up the back. I've got some forms. I don't know, Steve, if you would like to distribute them out. And, now the price. You're probably wondering what the price is. Okay, price is $99 a week. $99 a week over 9 weeks, and that's it. It's usually $150 a week. $1,490 is what we usually charge for the program. But for you guys, for today, it's $99 a week. And what we'll do is throw in for you, we have a masterclass happening next Friday. Our masterclass is a full 1-day kind of kickstart to all of this. Really where myself and my business partner Simone Novello, who has an extensive background in corporate, we sit down with you and we actually roll up our sleeves and draw on, get on the floor and say, okay, what is it that we need to do to get this happening really, really quickly for you? So if you enrol today, you will get that masterclass thrown in as well. And that's valued at $1,200.
What location will that be?
In Sydney, in Drummoyne.
What if you
Yes.
can't make it next Friday?
If you can't make it next Friday, we will give you a recording of the whole day. Or you can come to one of our future masterclasses if you want to. Okay, I think that's it from me.
Lovely, 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 lovely. Guys, can you please give Fiona Anson a huge round of applause and stand on your feet because I think she does deserve it.
Thank you very much.
That was amazing, amazing. Wonderful. Would you like to come and join me
I would love to.
over on the stalls? There you go. Wonderful. Joint ventures and strategic alliances. I love it. I love it. What I wouldn't do to have some of the other business leaders within the Illawarra here in this room to listen to what Fiona's message was, because we are so focused on trying to do it ourselves when maybe we should just have a different approach to it and understand there's already people that have done the
Would you
legwork
like
for
me
us.
to do that? Well, why don't we try and get them in a room and do that?
I'd love to do that. I'd love to
Get
do
you guys
that.
exposed to some of those guys? Would you like that?
Yeah, would you guys like some of the biggest business owners, business leaders within the Illawarra into this room? Yeah, see how we can start working together for a common cause, because that's, with the Breakthrough for Business program, it's actually very much targeted to Illawarra businesses because we don't have anything like this.
Yeah.
To get Fiona into this room, guys, to get Angelina, to get Steve, to get Rod, Ari, Jet, wow, we're so wrapped. And I feel blessed that we have, because there's other programs like this throughout major cities within Australia which cannot get access to Fiona. So we are totally blessed. So to be able to get, some of our business leaders here and to listen to your message,
I would be more than happy to do that.
I'm going to kick some heads. I'll make it happen. Wonderful. Because you know what, one of our challenges is that we are so focused on what we do that we push in our own direction, which is sometimes almost parallel to where someone else is going, but it might be just off a little bit. And then so they compete. rather than just
Rather than get
calibrating.
together. You know what? Some of your biggest and best alliance partners will be your competitors. It's really interesting to have a look at some of your competitors and look at how you might be able to work with them and look at it from a different angle. I've seen that happen a number of times, and it's, you know, you don't think you'd ever have an alliance with a competitor, but sometimes you can, and they can be very, very successful.
And it starts here. It's a mind shift.
Starts with the change, you know, as we did that exercise before, and the willingness to step way out of your comfort zone and to do something that, and put yourself out there. I mean, you know, going in to see someone you've never met before, especially for in a really big corporate, can be unbelievably daunting. But you know, as Steve said before, every business is P2P. They're people. You know, when you deal with the Optuses of the world and the NABs of the world and the Combanks of the world, that you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with a building. You know, and you have to realise that relationships are done by people. And that's why you can get an alliance with a big guy, because it's just another person you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I've sort of made reference to this a couple of times over the past 2 days. There's a movie, I don't know if you've seen it, called I Bought a Zoo.
Yes,
with Matt Damon in
most
it.
movies, being a screenwriter.
Has many people seen that movie, I Bought a Zoo with Matt Damon? He talks about how he met his wife, actually. Pretty cool. And he talks about having 20 seconds of courage. He walked past this restaurant, he saw this beautiful lady sitting in the restaurant having lunch by herself.
And he probably me.
And it was Fiona by herself. And he's telling this story to his kids because their mother has just passed away. And he's telling these kids, and this is how I met your mum. I saw her and I walked past and I just saw this most amazing woman sitting by herself, eating her lunch. And I just said to myself, right, you've got a choice to make. You can either keep walking and never meet this beautiful woman and give yourself a chance, or you can have 20 seconds of courage to stop, turn around, walk back in that restaurant and introduce yourself. And that's what he did. He had 20 seconds of courage, and you don't know where that's going to end up until 30 seconds. And that's how he met his wife. Most beautiful woman. They fell in love. It's a really cool story.
It happens in networking functions as well. You know, I've done it where, you know, you get invited to a function and you go, oh, so-and-so's going to be there and so-and-so's going to be there. And then, you know, you get that, oh, hang on, they're talking to someone, I'll wait. And then all of a sudden everyone goes, okay, that's the end of the night. And you go, damn it. Yeah, damn it. I came here and I missed that opportunity. So,
yeah, so it is having maybe 20 seconds of courage to go, you know what? These are people.
What's the worst that can happen?
What is the worst they can do?
What's the worst that can happen? They can turn around and go, sorry, no thank you.
Cool. No problems. And if they're decent people, which most people are.
They never do.
Yeah, exactly. So, any questions for Fiona? Yes, Lee.
Two things. Firstly, just an example of Wollongong, there's 4 or 5 competitors at the moment that have, in hands-on manufacturing, who have created an alliance because of the lack of labour here, and they're hiring planes out of Albion Park and flying them through to Emerald, and they're making it worthwhile by taking a workforce of 100 through to Emerald. There's so much work up there in the mines, so on and so on and so forth, and that's a great example. But
and they've probably locked out.
Yeah, I mean they've been
doing that as well.
And all of a sudden they're going up there strong. You know, they've got enough resources they can hire a plane. Rather, whereas obviously they couldn't hire a plane, what they're doing is they're 4 days on, 4 days off, and they're putting their cars down at Albion Park Airport and flying up, and it's working well. But more importantly, not being negative, but when you're teeing up your partners, how careful have you got to have of the risk? You said this about suppliers. You know, the risk of becoming partners with a supplier and then losing your competitive advantage on that supplier, or perhaps teeing up Telstra, for example, and then all of a sudden you want to go to Optus.
Do you know, it's really interesting. We had that discussion in my business the other day for exactly that reason. You know, do we go with Optus, and does that then discount us from doing anything with Telstra? And you do have to weigh up those options. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what it means to your business as to whether or not you go, well, you know, if I do with this, I'm going to push those guys out to the side.
Have you got like tick boxes or a system in place to say yes, no?
Not really. It's one of those things you've just got to sit down and nut out the pros and cons. You know, there's sometimes things like that can't really be systemized. You've actually just got to sit down and go, well, if we do that, you know, what's the benefit? What's the, you know, is the pro list longer than the con list? You know, and really just think it through on a case by case basis.
Yeah, was that valuable? Yeah. There's heaps of it, and actually Lee's one of the business leaders within the Illawarra, so mate, we could even facilitate that together. Yeah.
We're back on that issue, something I did fairly recently on health. We had a problem with Coca-Cola. So they wanted to be an alliance, but you just can't
And that's
do it.
an example of misalignment. You
But
know,
we-
I'm
but
doing
we
a
moved
health
on
thing
now,
and
Franklin.
Coca-Cola's my sponsor. And again, you've got to exercise the integrity to sometimes walk away from things that would otherwise be unbelievably attractive. It's real hard to say no to a Coke.
Yes.
But, you know, if it's a misalignment, your market won't, you know, they'll, what? And so it can be detrimental.
Is part of that a mindset of getting those people who believe they're competitors to believe that, you know, the more success that you have as a region or what have you, or as a business, that'll flow on to everyone will win?
Yeah, I think it's part of the education process. As I said, you know, earlier, sometimes with the smaller ones, you've actually got to, and sometimes with the bigger ones as well, you've actually got to educate them as to, you know, what this could mean to you. So that's why doing this homework stuff's really, really
Well, I
important.
know here Walter at the Novotel has always maintained a very strong process that he'd rather have 15 hotels here
Yeah.
competing for his business, because if they win, everyone wins.
It becomes a destination then. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In fact, we actually did do that with an alliance about a year and a half ago. Really potentially beneficial alliance, but the language the CEO was using was just ringing alarm bells in my head. And things like, well, we'll do this and then we'll cut these people out of this deal and then we'll cut. And I remember walking out with my business partner and saying, you know, this could be a really good alliance for us, or it could be the death knell for our business. And we exercised the integrity to walk away from that one. And she, at the time, the CEO said to me, I can't believe you're not doing this. And of course, we couldn't say to her, it's because we think you're going to, you know, cheat. Yeah, stitch us up. But, you know, we did. It was, as I said, could have been very lucrative for us, and we just turned around and went, you know what, it's not the sort of people we want to be in business with. There's a misalignment of values, and that's the thing I didn't touch on. Values is really, really, really important.
That would be in your
Really.
strategy at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That was one of the things I was going to say. Where all these things fall apart is where you have a misalignment with your values.
Yeah.
Everything else might look good,
Yeah.
but if you don't,
Yeah.
if you just can't work together because your values are misaligned, then it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, if someone's going to rape and pillage your business,
Yeah.
no matter how attractive that looks, you've got, or expect you to do the opposite, or expect you to do something you're not comfortable with doing, you've got to say, you know what, this is not for me.
It's just the same as a business partner, as a life partner, as a strategic alliance, as a joint venture. It's values, it's a vision,
Absolutely.
it's an
Yeah.
outcome.
And sometimes I had one where I partnered with someone out of UK, and I met this woman for an entirely different purpose. She was looking to rent an office space in Sydney while she was doing some work. And after about a couple of months, while I helped her look for some office space, out of the goodness of my heart, that wasn't what my job was, she said to me, you know, I'd really like to do business with you. And a year later, she approached me to do some work in Sri Lanka after the tsunami. And that led to a whole range of other opportunities. So I think that values
Absolutely.
basis was really very significant, because when she was looking for a partner, she looked for someone with similar values.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up, because I didn't bring it up, and it would be number one on my list. Number one, without a shadow of a doubt, is values.
Yeah. Great, Michelle.
I just want to ask a question. When you're setting up an alliance, do you have a time frame, like that you're going to?
You know what? I'd love to be able to say to you, yep, it works like clockwork. Every single one of them.
A time frame for the alliance, like.
Again, it depends. It depends on the business. You know, with the big guys, it can take a long time. Obviously, if there wasn't progress being made, then I would kind of probably.
No, I
No?
mean, like, are you going to have?
Oh, sorry,
like
for a
period of
contract?
time that you're going to, like,
Look, I
have
wouldn't
your
do anything that was less
Yeah.
than 12 months. I would think, you know, sometimes it can take a little bit of time. And again, it's case by case basis, but I wouldn't do something that would, you know, just be, you know, a hit and miss kind of thing. Although, having said that, I'm going to contradict myself now.
But you don't want to get locked in. Like,
yeah.
If it's not working.
Yeah, you don't want to be locked in,
Yeah.
and you want out clauses. So even if you're sending an email to someone, you say we're going to do this for 6 months, except if it doesn't work, then we're going to, you know, we have the ability to be able to go and go to your competitors, or, you know, go to another business. But you know, you may actually do an alliance for one thing. You know, that's the other thing. So it may be a very short time frame, or you maybe, you know, do something. Again, it's very case by case. It's very case by case.
Oh, I can.
That's it.
I'd just like to add to what Leigh and Camilla mentioned earlier. I like to, in fact, partner with my suppliers because I can trust them and I know them, and therefore I have no reluctance to introduce to my customers.
Absolutely.
But there's one thing I haven't done, and I want to ask you is, up to now I have done a number of partnerships, but I have never shared the database, whether I have access to their database or they have access to ours. We only say we send the material with the core branding to our customers and they send to theirs.
Yeah, good point. I don't believe in giving anybody else your database, and in fact, you're not supposed to do it anyway because there's spam issues and all that sort of stuff. I would never give anyone my database, but I may give them an endorsement through my database. So, but I would certainly never give my database away. That's absolute gold to your business. Don't ever give it to anybody.
And it's a $25,000 fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then because you have to contact your customers and you have to manage that relationship.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just thought that I mentioned it.
But you may create an alliance where you create a database together, and that you may then both end up with that database. But certainly, and thank you for bringing that up. It's a really good point. I would never give my database away to anybody.
And it's an interesting point as well, because if I was trying to contact your database, for instance, an email coming from Stephen Dixon
They don't know who you are.
has no credibility. No. So the open rate or the conversion rate of that email into Fiona's data, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
So
whereas if I send my database an email saying, hey, you really should talk to Stephen Dixon. He's just this cool guy. He does this, that, and the other.
Go on.
He helped me with my business. He's good looking. He dresses well. You're going to get much more engagement from that than you are from Stephen emailing my database, and they go, "Who the hell's Stephen?" Yeah.
You know what? It's just about relationships. It really
It's
is.
as simple as
isn't it?
that, really.
Yeah. What do you reckon, guys? Any more questions for you, Fiona?
I'll be up the back if anybody wants to talk to me.
Yeah. So take good advantage of having Fiona here. She's amazing. She is called for across stages all across Australia and internationally as well. So, guys, if you wouldn't mind being upstanding again one time for Fiona Anson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Lovely. Thank you very much.